Jam on toast!
Hi there, welcome to Jam. I'm Cameron. Today the toast is to her. This is another Gone to the Theater experience. I had to go see this movie. It was a mandate just for the subject matter and the aspect of use of technology. I was excited about it since I first heard about it, and I didn't even need to know who was in it to know that I wanted to go to the theater and see this. So the short sell on this one is that a man falls in love with an ever-evolving, possibly sentient OS. That's operating system for those who don't know. If anyone's still confused at that point, he basically can talk to his computer and the computer talks back like it's a real person. My love for this one is the use of a black screen. I haven't seen someone use a black screen in a movie in a very long time. And I'm extremely thankful, partly for that, partly because I didn't want to see Joaquin Phoenix in that scene, and partly, and mostly, I would think, because it allows you to create the scene for yourself. Very little do movies ask you to engage your imagination on your own. They're usually trying to mandate the story and images to you instead of leaving some blank space for you to kind of create for yourself. So my hated for this one is that I kind of came away with a feel of anti-technology sentiment to it. I hope that it's not the case and that I misinterpreted something, and I want to watch it again when I get the chance, but I'm really afraid that it's going to stick. I mean, I left the theater thinking of Cylons, and it troubles me because that is something that I would want. I want a smart OS. I want a Persicom or whatnot, and maybe that's a different story than this one tells because the OS doesn't have a body. It just lives on the computers, whereas if that same thing was in a Android, essentially, that would be a whole other world. The MVP for this is great a job as Joaquin Phoenix did. Scarlett Johansson is what sold this to me because she just captured the voice and made me feel like I was the one dating the OS. It felt like she was talking to me almost instead of Joaquin Phoenix because of how indirect the language is, because she doesn't have a body. He's not sitting there talking to her, interacting. I'm always impressed when actors can act without using their face, let alone a body, and it's just a super cool thing. It really sold it home for me. But let's move on to categories. Aesthetics. I know this is supposed to be like a semi-futuristic world, but it really just didn't feel futuristic. It just felt awkward. It almost looked like we went back to like 1980 and saw what we thought the future would look like from there. Everybody's wearing like these really high pants, dressed very brightly as opposed to other people. I don't know, to make them stand out or to make them look more hopeful in certain scenes. But that's what I think of when I think back to his characters, like the bright orange shirt that he was wearing, the plaid thing. But we got to see great uses of innovative looking technology where it's essentially a table and you just rub and touch the table to use the computer or the base of the monitor. Whatever it was they were touching, it was really interesting to see that. The way that earpieces work with the little camera phone technology. As cool as that little book thing is, like, it was kind of confusing, and I don't know if I want that phone per se, but by all means give me that pocket PC. But by all means give me a pocket PC that holds a smart AI in it. I would sign up for that technology. I think a lot of other people would too. I don't know if it would ever get to the point where it'd be smart enough to date, let alone I would actually do that. But sentient robotic pal, yay. To bring that back around, it's a lot of cool things in a very awkward setting. Aesthetics gets an 85. Character development. There is character development from start to finish in this. Unfortunately, it feels very taxing. It takes us through this trudge of developing like who he is now, who he is once he gets the OS, again who he used to be with his wife, and we get a lot of this from like kind of expositional conversation, not necessarily a lot of action, because there's only so much you can do with someone who doesn't have a body. Mostly you talk to them. One of the more powerful points of everything is when they get the surrogate body for her. Let that one hang. But it's a very powerful moving thing, but there's actually stuff happening there. When they go out on group dates, it's super interesting to see that. When she starts talking about other OSs and how they're having conversations, and he's out walking around talking to her, and you can see him really react. That's all very powerful, but those scenes feel far and few between, and it's a little exhausting. Character development gets an 85. Storyline. If you had told me the concept for this and you had me try to write an outline, this is not the way I would have gone with this story. It just feels real depressing, and it feels like it has a lot of hidden messages behind it about how love will always have problems and you don't always overcome it, and eventually everyone fails, and eventually everyone splits up, and eventually everyone dies, and I'm getting sad again just talking like that. With that said, the concept's so innovative at this point that I want more, and I want to see another take on the same concept. Honestly, I think the next big movie in this line of thought would be if someone was dating an android. Just don't let it be Bicentennial Man 2. Storyline gets an 80. Compulsion. I was so excited for this movie, I think I just bumped my expectations way too high, and I didn't go into it with a very objective feeling. So the more the movie dragged, kind of less I enjoyed everything in general, and I just felt bored at points. There was points where I was like, is this even worth finishing? But I stuck through it, and I'm glad I did. I at least got through it, and I got my money's worth in the theater, but they really could have picked up some of those scenes and just done something. But the problem is that the story's not about what he's doing, it's about how he interacts with this OS, which is mostly talking, and then you get some conversations and exposition while they're out doing things together. But that's how you drive something that doesn't have a body, and maybe that's just the biggest drawback to this, is having a character without a body. What do you do with that character? I think you could do probably a fantasy version better, where you essentially have like a spirit that's invisible or magical in some way beyond two souls. Compulsion gets an 80. Now, if you total all that up, you get an average of 82.5. For my wrap-up review, I've got to say this is definitely worth the watch, probably high school and up, but I think it's definitely worth the idea to think about all the concepts going on here. And if you don't want to think, don't watch this movie. Just don't. Just run. We're going to watch Her. No! I don't want to think. Because that's what it's going to make you do. I think if you turn your brain off, you're not going to get anything out of this at all. You might get some feels here and there, but it's going to be more just watching someone be sad. I think that's it for me. I'm Cameron. If you don't like me, bite me. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels.